explain why I left Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'll try and do it in a nutshell just to keep the video fairly short. But there's a lot to it that I can't get into everything. But basically, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. My family were second generation Jehovah's Witnesses, both my mom and my dad. And so that's all I knew as far as religion. And I went to elementary school through 6th grade, and then I got pulled out in the beginning of 7th grade, and then I went back to school for just like 3 months for 9th grade in high school, and I got pulled out again. So I never had any schooling as a child. My family was considered kind of like on the edge of what was good association for witnesses, because we didn't go to all the meetings, we were just barely there. And so that meant like the other witness kids weren't really allowed to play with me, and of course I couldn't have worldly friends, or any friends that were not Jehovah's Witnesses. So I had pretty much a lonely childhood. I was alone a lot. But I had a little brother, a younger brother, and I have 2 older brothers, but they're much, much older than me, like 18 years or something. So it was me and my little brother. But I'm kind of going to skip my younger childhood and go straight to when I got married. I was 15, and situation at home wasn't the best, and basically I needed to move out. I was too young to get a job. The elders weren't completely encouraging me, but they weren't really discouraging me to get married that young. But they were definitely involved in the process. So I got married when I was 16, and he was 20. And that was really hard. Like, it was good to get away from the situation I was in at home, but that was really tough in the beginning. There was some abuse. I couldn't really tell my family. I mean, I told them some, but basically after I got married, he became the head of my household. So no matter how bad it got, he basically just made the rules, and I would have to agree to it. And my life wasn't in danger. It wasn't abuse to that extent, but it was definitely, it was tough. And my mom told me, to make me feel better, I don't know, but she told me an experience about her getting married young. When she met my dad, they went on one little date, and my dad said, "Oh, do you think that we could get married?" And she was thinking, yeah, someday, that would be great. I do want to get married. But she wasn't really specifically thinking that he was really talking about them getting married in the immediate future or anything. It was just conversation. And so the next morning he showed up on her doorstep, and my grandma went to go wake up my mom, and she said, "You're getting married today, get up." And I think she was 18. So she got married young, and then she said that they went down to the courthouse, they got married, and then my mom wanted a gumball from a gumball machine, and so she ran up to my grandma and she said, "Mom, can I have money to get a gumball?" And she said, and my grandma told my mom, you need to ask your husband now. He takes care of you now. And that was kind of her reality check. You know, at that point forward, he's basically the person to take care of you. And so my mom always taught me to not complain about my husband too much. So I kept it all inside. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have so much, but I did. And it was very difficult in the beginning. But over time, I grew to love him. And we had 2 kids together, two girls. But our oldest child ended up having major health issues right from the beginning when she was born. She was born with half a heart, and so it would require open heart surgery immediately after birth. And so we went through the blood issue with our daughter for years. And I was devoted to Jehovah, and I almost sacrificed my child because I knew that the chances of her living were slim to none at the time. But at least if we did it Jehovah's way, we would still have her in the new system. Like, she would still be with us someday. And so that's what I held on to. And it was a tough journey, probably something that I need to make a whole nother video about. But she's still alive. She survived. She's doing very well right now. She's had 10 heart surgeries. She's 15 now, and she's doing amazing health-wise. Well, actually, she's just doing amazing in general. But so we dealt with that. And finally, leading up to me leaving the truth, the religion, what we would call the truth, but now I realize it's not the truth. One of the things that I started questioning was when the information on the generations came out. And they tried to explain that the generations doesn't mean one generation. It means like there's an overlapping of generations. But there's really no scripture to back it up. And at the time, I was questioning this, and I was just thinking, okay, well, I'm 30. Like, I'm young enough to where I still have my whole life ahead of me. But the people like my dad, who have been raised in the truth all of this time, have been holding on to this one belief, and then they clarify it, but the clarification of it just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm seeing like red flags. I'm seeing, okay, this doesn't make sense. Why? Something doesn't add up here. And so I talked to the elders about it. And one of the elders, my very good friend, I won't say his name, but my very good friend, who I miss very much, he said, Summer, you need to be careful because you kind of are starting to sound like an apostate. And I kind of started panicking. I was like, okay, well, I don't want to sound like that because, you know, apostates are diseased and mentally unstable and all of that. And of course, that's not me. I'm not angry and I'm a terrible person, like that I had been told that apostates were like that. And so that was scary to me to be told that. But he said, since this information came out, there's a lot of videos on YouTube where people just don't agree with it and they don't understand it. And I don't think he should have really told me that. But still, at the time, I was too afraid to look at the videos. But at least I kind of knew something was out there. Like, I started really questioning, if I'm not the only one thinking this, and especially because I'm thinking this and I'm like, I totally believe in Jehovah and his organization, this is a big thing. So I ended up just like looking on YouTube, but just a little bit. And I would look at only people who looked like they are genuinely nice people. And I would have like a panic attack every time I'd turn it on, and I'd only turn it on for like 1 minute at a time. But I started like realizing, okay, well, maybe there's people who don't believe in Jehovah's Witnesses, worldly people. I mean, I don't agree at this point with apostates, but there's worldly people who are good people, and maybe they make some valid points that this is something to be questioned. So it took me a long time to be able to really watch anything, but at least I kind of knew it was out there, and I started seeing also videos about sex abuse and how witnesses cover it up, which my childhood is plagued with that issue. It definitely, like, I know that has been an issue for Jehovah's organization, and I've always just been told, let Jehovah deal with it. But, I just realized that there are other people that question it. Why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I just start questioning it? And then I didn't get into the doctrine, trying to figure out what was wrong with it, right away. I just started, as I was questioning, as things started coming up, I would talk to my husband about it, and he was uncomfortable with it, and then I'd shut it down. We wouldn't talk about it. Then I got a book, and this book was on meditation because I wanted to try and meditate. I thought maybe meditation would be outside of the religion, but not bad, but my husband thought I was going to bring demons into the house. And he started talking to the elders about this book that I had about meditation. And I started secretly meditating, he didn't know. When he was gone at work, I would meditate a little bit. And I started feeling a lot better, actually. And I know that, I wasn't bringing demons into the house. And I started getting more and more comfortable with the whole idea of meditation. So there was that. And so I started realizing, wow, I can't do anything on my own. But to actually, at that point even, to leave Jehovah's organization was still, too far out there, because I literally did not know one person who was not a Jehovah's Witness, because I have been a stay-at-home mother for 15 years. Well, at that point, 12 years. Well, and even before that, I didn't work because I was so young, and my husband he took care of me financially, and he always wanted me to pioneer. If I felt like I could get a job, I could take that drive and put it toward pioneering. And so my only escape from home was pioneering. I didn't pioneer, but because I just didn't want to. I mean, I auxiliary pioneered once in a blue moon. But, I went out in service regularly. I didn't talk at the door a whole lot, and I didn't comment at the meetings a whole lot just because I've had something in the back of my mind or something inside of me that just partly doesn't want this. Like my whole life I've been like that. But then like a whole nother part of me knows that if I don't do this and if my daughter doesn't survive, I will never see her again. Or if I left the truth or the organization, I will never see all of my family again. So I ended up asking my husband for a divorce. I didn't want to be with him anymore. I wanted to break up. It wasn't anything, we never cheated on each other. He was abusive. I didn't realize that the abuse, I never called it abuse at the time. And during the process of trying to get a divorce, I put my kids in therapy, or my oldest daughter in therapy. And the things that came out with the therapist in the state that we live are considered abuse. This is what they told me. CPS came in, they kicked my ex out of the house. And at that point, the divorce was, I was very sure that I wanted divorce. I talked to an attorney and they were in agreement. But then when these other things came out with my daughter, he had to leave. I had to stick up, I had to protect my child. I mean, I can take some, mistreatment for myself, but when it comes to my kids, of course, I can't just sit around and do nothing. So he left. He has since taken parenting classes and done much better, and he's better, and he gets visitation, but for a long time he was not allowed visitation. He only got monitored visitation after he didn't see them for a very long time, and then he went to monitored, and now he gets some visitation with them. But I am extremely happy that I made that decision. I mean, at the time, it was very sad because, I loved him, of course. But he was like my best friend because, he's all I've ever known, literally, as far as even friends, really. We've had friends, but he's been, of course, my husband for my entire life since I was a kid. So it was very tough, but a few years leading up to that, I just, loved him less and less and less until the time came that I just knew that it was over. But I am so happy. Right after this happened, I started meeting some worldly people. I shouldn't call them worldly people. People who are not Jehovah's Witnesses. Because it was very scary for me because I didn't know one person. And I didn't really even, I felt if you have a puppy and he's not exposed to anything as a puppy, then when he's older, he doesn't really know how to interact with other dogs or even humans, then they just become weird. I feel like that. I still feel like that. But I think I'm doing a lot better. But the very first time, I found some people. I went on Meetup, and it's it's not a dating site or anything, because I wasn't looking for that, but it's like where you just meet up with groups of people. So this was a volleyball barbecue. So everybody was just going to go play volleyball there. And so I went there for the first time. Like, I literally was on my own. No one in the whole entire world that I knew, because I was just shunned. Like, every single person shunned me. Complete radio silence. Nothing. No goodbye. Nothing. So, like, I know my children. Like, they're the only people that I know, really. So I went to this party, this meetup, this barbecue, and I met a few people, and it was so much fun, and I hung out with them, and then we hung out the next day, and I made some friends, and it was as simple as that. And the friends that I've made have been absolutely amazing. Like, they're all different, and they're not all Jehovah's Witnesses, or they're not all one religion. They're not all Christian. They're not all whatever. They're just a mixture of people. One's an atheist. One's a Catholic, and they're actually very good friends. Like, to me, it was just so baffling. But that's been good. However, so I've been out for 2 years. And I honestly, like, I've been through a lot in my life. But and I honestly didn't think that my parents were going to officially shun me, or my brother, or, one of my older brothers. My younger brother especially, I didn't think he would. No goodbyes, nothing. I honestly thought that maybe they would make some sort of exception, like, I don't know, just because I'm the same person. It's not like I've changed. It's not like I've become this terrible person. Like, even for the longest time, I was even following Bible principles to the degree that Jehovah's Witnesses do. Like, I didn't just go crazy and wild, and a little bit maybe like with my personality, like, I don't know. Yeah, I played beer pong. I don't know, like, I'm not a different person. And I thought that they would see that and realize that and just be like, oh, okay, well, maybe she'll be back someday, but meanwhile, let's actually not shun her. Like, that's what I thought was going to happen. But no, they're out of my life. They're gone. They won't respond to a text, an email, a phone call. They won't talk to me on the phone at all. There's nothing. And that has been the most difficult thing that I have ever been through in my entire life. It's like, to them, I am spiritually dead, and Jehovah's going to destroy me. And this is what their thinking is. Because of that, I'm basically waiting for my actual death. So I am dead to them. To every single person I have ever known in my entire life. People I've grown up with. My family. And that is a very difficult thing to wrap your mind around. Like, especially with everything that I sacrificed to be a Jehovah's Witness. And I was very well respected. I had a very good reputation as a Jehovah's Witness. And then as soon as I said, I want a divorce, everything just went downhill. And then I decided I'm not going to even be in this religion anymore. And then at that point, that's it. That's it for me. My life is over. And I cannot tell you how difficult it has been emotionally to be shunned. It is inhumane. And there's a lot of people that I still love very much, and I think that they are amazing people. They're still Jehovah's Witnesses, and they shun me, and they would never want to talk to me. But I still love them, and I know that they're confused. They don't understand what love actually is. And that's the biggest thing, is I didn't even really comprehend. I'm still learning what love is. Love is not conditional. I mean, Jehovah's Witness love is conditional. I realize now the love that my parents had for me was conditional. And I hope that my children see that the love that I have for them is unconditional, and there is a big difference. But I miss my mom and my dad and my brother every day. But it's still worth it. I am so thankful to be here. Not waking up on Sunday morning and going to meetings or going out in service every Saturday. I mean, yeah, there were pros to doing that stuff. I mean, it was fun at times. But it wasn't right for me. And now I know, 100%, I know that I did the right thing. And I am so glad that I did. But it was hard. And it continues to be hard. And now I'm actually able to look at things from a different perspective. And I'm able to look at some of the doctrine more critically. And there's a lot that's not right. It's not right at all. And a whole lot of things kind of make sense to me now about my childhood and about what I went through. And it makes a lot more sense because the elders have a history of covering up abuse, and I couldn't allow that to happen to my kids, and that's why, the biggest reason why I stepped away. And I'm glad I did, and I hope that maybe with some of these lawsuits, I don't know, but I hope that people really start realizing that there is a big issue and children are not protected in the organization. And unfortunately, my kids still have to go to meetings and conventions with their dad. And I'm seeing the emotional blackmail that takes place. It's unbelievable. It is such an unhealthy environment for children. It is damaging for children to be in this organization. It is a cult, in my opinion. It is. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be shunned. It's a cult. That's all blackmail. My family has been used as a weapon against me because I disagree. That's not right. That's not okay. That is a cult. So, my advice to anybody who may be studying with Jehovah's Witnesses, really think critically about it. Don't allow them to show you all of this love, take you in, because once that happens, then your worldly family will go away, your worldly witnesses will go away, and then you'll be all in, and then there will be no escape. Like, to leave after you are all in like that, when you know no one, it was like jumping off a cliff and you don't even know if you're literally just jumping into the mouth of Satan himself. Like, that's how I felt. I didn't know what I was doing, really. All I knew is something wasn't okay, and I needed to get away, and I needed to protect my kids. So if you're only newly interested in Jehovah's Witnesses, please, please, please be careful. And if you're thinking about leaving, listen to your heart. Your heart will tell you. And it's hard. It is not easy. But eventually, if you're strong enough, it takes a lot of strength to be shunned and to be kicked out of your entire life. It will get better. And when I first stepped away and I started meeting people who were kind of like understanding what I just got away from, they all said, it'll get better, it'll get better. Or like YouTube videos where there was, somebody who got away. They always said, it gets better, it gets better. But like at the time, I did not believe them because it is so hard. But I kind of just like was running on hope. But now, 2 years later, it gets better. It does. It will be okay. I was very suicidal for a time after. I can't imagine anybody who wouldn't be. Like, I'm pretty sure that that is a normal thing going through something like this, but it will get better. Way better than you can even imagine, because your mind as a Jehovah's Witness is like, you're closed-minded. You don't know it, but you can't really see the big picture of everything. Like, you can't see the big picture until you're out and until it takes time. And then after some time, life just takes on, expands. Life expands. That's the only way I can explain it. And it is just amazing. And it will be okay. And you'll be happier.